And we're live. Good evening, and welcome to Pontificating with Pete on Monday, July 15th. And what a weekend, what a time to be alive, wouldn't you say? Hope you guys are all doing well. I know that there is, clearly there's one major story, but there's obviously going to be a lot that we're going to want to cover tonight. So I hope you guys are doing well. Greetings from also the campaign trail, as canvassing is in full force. We're hitting about 700 doors a day. We've got a real shot. Jen's getting the word out. We're all getting the word out. So we've got a lot to do that we're responsible for. I think for any of you that have obviously been paying attention to what's going on, I'm sure you have. Needless to say, we dodged a bullet, literally, as a country the other day. I don't want to hear any conspiracy theories or, any wild-eyed ideas as far as how this is going to unfold. But what I will say, and I look at what happened on Saturday, and I saw it happen within a couple of minutes of it occurring, and I was out knocking on doors. And as soon as I saw it, I immediately knew. I was like, oh no, they tried to kill him. Like he just missed it. He just missed that kill shot. Slight turn of the head is the difference between our country probably on the verge of a civil war of some kind and maybe having an opportunity to take a step back. Now, there's a lot of places that we could start tonight, a lot of places that we can go. Obviously, we're going to cover in length what did happen in Butler, Pennsylvania. I'm hoping against all hope that CannCon is going to be here. I have not gotten confirmation from him. This has happened to me a few times, as you guys know. I'm not Jen, so I don't have as much gravitas. People are not as interested in talking to me. But I've got you guys, and that's a start. Make sure that you have smashed that like button. Make sure you share this so we can get it out. When I think about how we got to this place, and I will address this metal, the whole thing about destiny. You have to remember, a lot of the comments that people make, they make it because they're trying to get clicks. They don't actually believe what they're saying. They don't actually care what they're saying. It's of no consequence to them. What matters to them specifically is money and fame and power. That's it. There is no moral compass that is, driving them specifically. And I don't know why Twitter is not on. It is not on. It's been one hell of a night with technical issues, to say the least. But what I will say is, if you could not see this coming, if you could not see that something cataclysmic was eventually going to happen, I don't know what you're looking at. The president, former president, probably going to be president again, has been walking that tightrope. And I know constantly people are always suggesting that what it really comes down to is that Trump is going to cause this violence. Like, he is going to be the cause of all of these problems. And maybe he will be if he gets in again. We don't know. But that's the challenger's advantage in this case for him. He can basically say whatever he wants. Isadora is right. Where would it have started? Well, it started because a person who was not supposed to be president became president, and the people in control didn't know what to do, and so they had to come up with something. And so now what we're faced with is a situation where, there's going to be many conflicting stories as to what really happened, why it happened, how was it even allowed to happen. I don't think people have fully grasped just how much of a bullet, no pun intended, we dodged on Saturday. If the former president had been killed and he was an inch away from dying, he just turned the second that the first shot was unloaded, and immediately it went right through his ear. If his head was straight on, like when he turned his head, you could see the trajectory of how the bullet went right through. But if he doesn't turn his head, that bullet's going right there, and he's dead. And down he would have went, and it would have been a nightmare of proportions that I still don't think people can truly wrap their heads around. And I do not support Trump. But I think there comes a point where people need to be very clear about how dangerous a moment we're in right now, and I don't think they get it. I don't think they get that this is a very serious moment. Credit to former President Trump for calling specifically for Secret Service protection for RFK, and he got it earlier today. There are people who are saying that this isn't real. Okay, well, I'm going to show you that this is real, and I'm going to explain. So here we go.
Something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hold on. We're going to start this again. Listen, this night is getting off to a fantastic start. It can't get worse. Or could it? Maybe it will. We'll see. So this is seconds before the first shot is fired.
Please see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Remember, it happens like that. Just a slight tilt of the head. If he doesn't tilt his head, he's dead. That's how quick this happens. But instinctively, he knew something got him. That was his instinct. It was smart. He didn't immediately drop. Now, they say it was a 22 that he was shooting. So he was, I guess it's probably around a second, something like that. But he knew as soon as he got hit, he knew it was bad, and it was almost like in slow motion, but he knew to drop, and that's what he did. Now, there is a suggestion that he didn't actually get shot, that it was actually a ricochet off of, I think they said it was like a speaker. I mean, you could clearly see that this guy who was shooting was preparing very carefully, even though it looked like tons of people in the crowd could clearly see this guy well in advance of him getting into his sniper's nest or whatever makeshift version of it he was going to have. That the people on the ground saw it, that they were pointing their finger. There's somebody up there. Somebody's trying to, and they got a rifle. And this was several minutes. And you've got Secret Service agents that are in their own nests that are watching this. And so, again, I'm not getting into the divine intervention stuff. Sometimes people are just lucky, and this man has been lucky forever. He's been lucky forever. You know, the reaction from the crowd I find very interesting, and I do wonder the difference that would happen if this was at, like, let's say, a Democratic crowd. First of all, I look at a lot of the men in the crowd, and their immediate instinct is to protect the women that are around them, which is obviously always nice to see. But at the same time, somebody brought this up. I don't remember who it was. Brought it up earlier today. It was very important. Just discussing the fact that there wasn't a mass panic in the crowd in the sense that they just started to stampede out of there. That is a sign also of a crowd, especially in northwestern Pennsylvania. Probably most of the people there either own or know how to operate firearms. And so because of that, their instincts kick in when it comes to hearing gunfire. Whereas people who are not used to hearing gunfire will freak out. I've only heard gunfire a couple of times. When I lived in a rough neighborhood, I heard it a couple of times. So I really think that it is a testament to the crowd and how they were able to handle this. That's part one. We'll continue. Now let's stop. You see, now what I would want to know is, obviously one person was killed, another person was badly injured, and of course Trump just missed assassination. So the guy in question, doesn't even matter what his name is, to be honest. But fact of the matter is, he was able to squeeze off somewhere between 8 and 10 rounds, is my understanding. But if the Secret Service agent had him in his sights, I don't understand how he doesn't literally have him in the scope ready to clip him, even though apparently my understanding from what I read was that he kept saying, I've got this guy in my sights. He's clearly pointing a rifle. What do you want me to do? And he was told to stand down. So I don't know. A lot of this stuff is very hard to understand without going into the conspiratorial territory. It's very hard to do that, especially nowadays where you don't even know what to trust. How do you know what to trust? The president drops to the ground, and now they're going to get him up. I want to be as crystal clear as I can be regarding this moment. If people caught the photograph, all of that. It is absolutely incredible how many people have gone on social media and suggested that this was not only like this was somehow staged, and that somehow he decided that he was just going to raise his fist in the air. First of all, if you've ever had an out-of-body experience, the rate in which adrenaline is flowing through your body, it can't be measured. It's like jumping out of an airplane, which I haven't done, and I don't think I ever will. But his instincts were to show his supporters, I was going to say his followers, a lot of them are followers too, but to show his supporters that I'm okay and I will fight on, even though I know that I just danced with the devil for a second and almost lost my life. But his instinct to be defiant in that moment was all adrenaline and nothing more. Because the second he's walking off that stage, he looks like a white ghost. He looks like he went into shock, which is what a lot of people would do. He's trying to fight that off, but like I said, these moments, they are very difficult. Colin, if you can, grab the photo. If you can grab it. I'm glad that he wasn't killed. I'm glad that the reaction has been, at least from people on his side, where a lot of people thought that that there would be some type of a backlash of some kind. The only real backlash I ever saw was a couple of people who went up to the corporate media nest and was telling them that this is your fault, that you did this. Well, what's there to say? It is corporate media that riles up a lot of this. There's no question. This is a huge part of the problem, because for them, this is all about money and power. And talking about Trump 24/7, suffice to say, has worked for them. But this is an image that is going to be used forever. It's like the ultimate act of defiance. And of course, everyone's going to say he's a fascist. He's going to be a dictator. What the hell do you think we're living in right now? This is why so many people are not as concerned. It's not like we have a system to fight for that is fighting for everyday people right now. It just isn't. So if Trump is everything that people say he's going to be, then it's easy to see why the reaction, even if he throws rhetoric out there that would suggest that he would be very authoritarian if he gets in again. For a lot of people, they don't care. Because right now, they're hurting. And they're hurting a lot. And they don't know where to go. I've been saying this forever. If you want to pretend like things are not bad right now, and that staying the course is the answer, it's not. And, you know, a lot of people have suggested that if, for whatever reason, President Biden decides, especially in light of what has happened, that it is time for him to step away, and all of a sudden, if it was Kamala Harris or somebody else, could be, could be Gavin, not likely. Perhaps, I know they floated, Governor Shapiro, who is a total Zionist in Pennsylvania. I think Governor Beshear in Kentucky is a decent one, but, again, they're looking at it from an electoral standpoint. They're looking at Shapiro as somebody who, would ultimately focus on Pennsylvania, which obviously is one of the probably 2 or 3 most important states in this election. So I can certainly see the case being made where this is going to have of tantamount importance, whoever they put up there. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, that it is Kamala that ultimately becomes the nominee. Especially if they're desperate enough right now where they get the sense that this election has completely gotten away from them. There's no way Biden can win. In lieu of what just happened on Saturday, they've got to try something else. So let's say that they get Biden to step away and somebody's going to step up. The scrutiny that he is going to get is going to be immense. Just tremendous. It is absolutely going to be off the charts. Just how insane this is going to turn into. The scrutiny is only on Biden right now. It's not on Vice President Harris or anybody else who's going to step up. And the reason you know this is because J.D. Vance earlier today got announced that he's going to be Trump's VP. Now, there are many reasons why he may have been chosen. Look, J.D. Vance, again, he's a politician. He's conservative. He's anti-choice. I really wish people would stop saying pro-life because it's not a thing. You're either for choice or you're not. And if that's what your prerogative is, that's, it's your choice. I saw a message from Zia Jelani, which I sent to you, Colin. I don't know if you have that, from earlier today, trying to indicate why he was chosen. I mean, listen, J.D. Vance was chosen for one specific reason. He was chosen because he's from a Rust Belt state. J.D. Vance is one of the only, and this is Zia Jelani. This isn't some hack. Zia Jelani wrote today, J.D. Vance is one of the only Republicans who supported Dem efforts to regulate rail companies. Again, granted, part of that was because of East Palestine, and that fell in his lap. Rein in the price of insulin, stop large corporate mergers, and promote onshoring. Again, those last, especially promoting onshoring, is big. While he's far from any kind of lefty, he brings the GOP to the middle on the economy. And ultimately, that is what gets the votes. Scroll down more, please, Colin. This is going to be there's going to be a lot of conventional wisdom because the press is obsessed with Trump, the person, rather than public policy. But GOP policy since Reagan has been about empowering corporations to run a tyranny over Americans. Vance breaks with that. Trump has dominated the GOP for a decade now. Well, just about. But this pick really illustrates how the timber of that domination has changed. The Trump-Pence GOP was a party that gradually capitulated to the strongman over time. The Trump-Vance GOP is one eager to do the strongman's bidding. I don't know if that means Trump will let Vance have control over policy. Trump's first term is mostly normal GOP stuff, like the big tax cuts. Moving country towards labor on trade. But the more influence Vance has, the more the GOP will realign. So Reverend Warnock shouldn't be sponsoring legislation with Vance to bring down the price of insulin. Insulin prices are too high or too low or something. I mean, again, we all know that it's unlikely that somebody like him would ever support a universal healthcare system, but we have to get what we can get, chipping away at the corporate monolith that is our economic and political system. Liberals really need to stop the whole don't normalize this, don't legitimize him stuff. This is politics, and the real world is not a liberal opinion page. That's a great line. There are people who agree with you on some things, disagree with you on others. You can't make them disappear. And you can't. How could you talk to that Republican over there? He's a bad person. Any reasonable left-leaning person who cares about the poor and the least of these and isn't just fixated on Trump the person should be able to recognize that Vance's governing trajectory is better for the poor than that of most Republicans and take it for what it is. The Club of Growth, which is one of the GOP's main corporate enforcers, strongly opposed Vance's election to the Senate, warning that he is for government control of businesses and even higher taxes. They spent millions to block him. Ken Griffin, one of the richest men in the world. I believe he owns the most expensive piece of residential real estate in the United States. And of course, Rupert Murdoch, Darth Sidious himself, two of the GOP's other big corporate enforcers, tried to block Vance from being picked. Now, what does this all mean? The idea that Vance is some kind of white nationalist is crazy. He is an immigration restrictionist, for sure, an area where I don't have much in common with him. But he married an Indian woman and raised Hapa kids. Nick Fuentes hates it. Well, listen, if Nick Fuentes doesn't like somebody, I'm inclined to like that person. Let's just put that out there. Yeah, one way to loosely think about Vance is that he's either like the Republicans prior to Reagan or the Democrats prior to Biden. Zaya Jelani is a good journalist, and he basically said what needed to be said. J.D. Vance is anti-choice. There is no question that that is a huge issue and a huge problem. But Ohio codified Roe. There is not going to be a federal nationwide mandate to take away a woman's right to choose. I know people think that that could happen. It's not happening because then it would be a political consequence of epic proportions. And the one thing the Republicans do better than Democrats, they know how to seize an opportunity when there's an opportunity to win. That they do well. So I don't see a case right now where that is going to happen. Could I be wrong? Maybe. But I do not see that happening. Do I think Vance moves the needle? No. I don't think he hurts the ticket either. I think this was just simply a safe bet. And it was a safe bet simply because even though Ohio is a red state now, it's still in that same region that is important in terms of the trajectory of where this election is going to go. This is like 2016 all over again. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. And so, numbers-wise, it's very much showing that those states, and he doesn't need them all, Trump needs to take back Georgia and Arizona He may likely pick off Nevada, and then he only needs one of those Rust Belt states, and he's the president. And that's it. And that's how it works. And so I do think, and Carla's absolutely correct, the RNC is significantly better at playing the long game. That's what they do. The Democrats have no game. They have the head of their DNC getting into Twitter arguments with Jill Stein, which, by the way, Jill Stein really stuck it to Jamie Harrison pretty thick. I mean, Jamie Harrison throwing the whole, you're a Russian puppet or a Putin puppet, and she comes back with, you're a corporate whore, and I've got proof. So, and then he didn't say anything. So it's kind of, it's emblematic of where we are right now. I don't talk about anti-abortion people like they're evil. I don't give a damn if you're anti-abortion. Stay the hell out of my business. If you want to be pro-life, that's fine. I have no problem with that. Stay out of my business if I'm pro-choice. You are in a political party that has a significant portion of the voting bloc, particularly the evangelicals, which do not believe that you have a right to choose. I'm not cool with that. I am strictly the separation of church and state. Period. There is no gray area. Zero. You do what you do, I do what I do. And do it responsibly. You don't want people to have any choice. As I said, it's not your fucking baby. We don't live in a perfect world. We live in a world where we have freedom of choice. Or do you not believe in the Constitution? Because you have to make a choice. Either you believe in it or you don't. You are not getting exceptions. You're not going to say this is okay, but that's not. Don't work that way. I respect whatever you believe. And if that's how you choose to live, you can do that. And I have no problem with it. If you believe that a woman if you believe that a woman, or let's say is a family member that is raped or is a victim of incest and has to bring that baby to term, I think you're crazy, but that's your prerogative and I will respect your decision. But I'm going to fight you on it. And I think it's wrong. You know, child marriage is legal in several states. That's a fucking problem. And so is this. And more often than not, these cases is where the real problem comes into play. There is corporate takeover of both parties, period. You are not getting one or the other, thinking that you're going to make a better choice. But the one thing that the GOP undeniably is significantly worse than the Democrats on, it's theocracy. I have no problem with religion. I have a problem with religion that gets in the way of my government. That I have a problem with. And so should you. This is how it is. And you're probably right. I don't think Trump knows the Constitution. I think the only thing Trump knows is I totally know who I have to get in order to win. That's what he cares about. That's the only thing Trump cares about. And Biden, now there's reports that he has onset Parkinson's. I mean, it's so bad. Again, it's like we're living through a very, very, very bad movie. And one where anything that could happen will happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that there could have been much worse selections, including Burgum for vice president. And everybody's out there talking about how J.D. Vance 8-9 years ago said that Trump was terrible and all that. That's all you got? And everybody's talking about how, oh, J.D. Vance is going to get crushed by Kamala in the vice presidential debate. Look, what matters now is what we can do at the local level. What matters now is how we get through this. Because I got to tell you, there's a lot of, there is a movement that is running away from the Democratic Party every day. I went to an event earlier, and it is obvious how doomed this party is becoming. Because people are looking for something else. They can say all they want about how statistically, whether it is Governor Shapiro, Governor Pritzker, Governor Newsom, Governor Beshear, that if they went up against Trump, that they would get better numbers. I'm sure they would. Does that solve the problem with the system? I don't think so. For them, this is just a horse race. That's what they care about. They care about their power. They care about their infrastructure. They are not caring one iota about the issues that we're trying to fight for. That's the problem. That is where the real problem comes into play. To deny that is to deny one of, if not the most significant aspect of the RNC convention, which is happening right now. It's a rah-rah, get everybody excited. We're here, we're fighting for, to get Trump elected, etc. We're here to have a Republican takeover, all of that stuff. I heard Governor Youngkin. I heard Senator Scott, Tim Scott. I couldn't listen to Rick Scott. But the most important part of the convention was Sean O'Brien of the Teamsters going to be a guest speaker. And here's what he had to say on Fox News.
Ryan joins you right now. In case that doesn't ring a bell to a lot of you, I should point out he is the Teamsters General President, and you're probably thinking, then what the heck is he doing at the Republican National Convention? Well, he's going to speak to that convention tonight, but first he's speaking to us. Sean, very good to have you.
Great to see you, sir.
You could almost look like a fish out of water. How do you feel there?
I feel great. I feel very confident. Look, I'm here representing working people in America. I'm here representing the greatest union in the entire country. And my message is clear. We want to make certain that people understand, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or Independent, how important it is to respect working class America, and also, to encourage bipartisan participation on issues that face working people.
That statement alone is fantastic. That is exactly what you want to say. And the reason you go to the RNC convention is because you have to create leverage. The Democrats always take for granted the fact that they think that, or vice versa, that unions are only going to support them, and vice versa. It is so crystal clear that this is why you lose, because you do not create leverage. What Sean O'Brien is doing is right. He's not going there endorsing Trump for president. He's going there saying, working people need help, and if you're not going to provide it, I'm going to go somewhere where they think they're getting it. Because even if Trump is full of shit, which most of the time he is, at least he's getting lip service. Now, what does lip service do? Lip service creates momentum and creates energy, even if it's bullshit. But what it does do is it creates people just the feeling that, well, maybe something good could possibly happen, and let's fight for it. On the other side, you're not fighting for anything. You're just like, you're a Teamster. You got to be a Democrat, no matter what. And we're not doing anything for you. Now, in some cases, the labor movement has benefited during the Biden administration. There's no question the NLRB is as good now as it's probably been since the 1960s, and that's a great thing. But that's not everything. There was a signature policy that President Biden needed to push through in his first 100 days, and he didn't do it, didn't even try. And that was the PRO Act. We needed to end right-to-work laws in this country so that you can properly negotiate for your labor rights. That should have been number one, more than your $15 minimum wage, with all due respect. That would have created an opening for trades. It would have created an opening for everything. And he didn't do it. He should have put his entire presidency on the line for the PRO Act. He didn't do it. And now today, as a result, you have Sean O'Brien, who was at the Republican National Convention with, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe the Teamsters are the biggest union. We'll continue.
Obviously, you raised this issue with Donald Trump. You want the same opportunity to speak to Democratic conventioneers when they gather in August. What has Joe Biden told you about that convention?
I haven't heard anything, sir. Last time I was on your show, we talked about how we asked both the Republican National Convention and the Democratic National Convention. The Republican National Convention welcomed me. I'm still waiting here on the Democratic National Convention. And look, it's controversial. We understand that. But, the reality is our system's broken right now, and we're divided right down the middle. I've got a constituency of 1.3 million members, half vote Republican, half vote Democrat. So we've got to serve both equally.
So
that is a great answer. And again, he's speaking the truth 100%. This is a broken country, no question. And he has got to go where his rank and file are. He has a rank and file that supports both the GOP and the Democratic Party. In reality, a lot of them are probably inclined to support Trump and somebody like Bernie Sanders. If good is done, then that's what will result in more people supporting the Democratic Party than the Republican Party. But even still, you have to go out there and create as much momentum as you can. You can't stop. You got to keep going. And that's obviously what he's done. We'll continue.
you have not heard back from the White House on speaking at the convention, the Democratic convention, after all this time? We spoke first over a month ago.
We did, yes. No, we haven't heard anything. Crickets.
What does that tell you? Are you offended?
No, I'm not offended at all. Look, I'm a lifelong Democrat, but I have no problem working with people that are going to help support working people. Look, I'm getting criticized from the left. I'm getting criticized from the far right. And at the end of the day, you know, we've got to do what's best for this country, number one, and working people. And I believe it's to work bipartisan-wise to find solutions to problems. Often, two times, you know, we take a position each side, and you know, there's a line drawn in the sand. It's not working. So the system's broken. We need to fix it. And I'm committed to working with anybody that's going to support working people, but more importantly, this country. We live in the greatest country in the world, and we need to make certain that we protect it. We need to make sure we preserve it. More importantly, promote it.
Well, it says a lot that Donald Trump was very interested in hearing from you and letting conventioneers hear from you. He didn't wait a month to say yes or no.
Mm-hmm. No, and I'm sure he got criticized for when the announcement happened. You know, the far right, you know, called him to rescind the invitation, and thankfully he had the courage and conviction not to do that. I hope the Democrats give us the same opportunity. You know, we've supported the Democrats for the last 20 years, unwavering, much to you know, a lot of dissatisfaction within the union. And again, I'll state clearly, I'm a lifelong Democrat, but you know, times have changed. You know, wants and needs need to be addressed, regardless whether you're a Democrat, Republican, or an independent.
And again, that is another great answer because, again, even though there is still a significant portion of the GOP that is anti-union, I mean, I don't know if that could be any more clear. They are very much still in favor of the Chamber of Commerce, not of necessarily the labor workers and so on. It's, you know, again, but things change. And I think creating this leverage, I think what Sean O'Brien is doing is absolutely correct. I think these things are necessary. You cannot just assume that everything is going to be perfectly acceptable as it stands, because it isn't. The idea that the president has not even offered a speaking spot for the Teamsters at their convention, not a good sign. I don't blame Trump for saying, we should totally have him come and speak at my convention. My party's great and you should come. And he decided to come to the Trump party, because that's what that is. You got to fight for your workers. And a lot of these labor unions, they don't fight for them. How do I know? Because you got ones down here that are endorsing Debbie Wasserman Schultz over Jen Perlman. How much do they really care about their workers? Not enough at all. So O'Brien continues to prove that he's a badass, and we'll see what else he has to say.
So, you know, you're also an astute reader of the tea leaves here. And you know in the past, regardless what leadership at your union or other unions have recommended for president, the sort of rank and file, the core members of which you started out as one, generally did prefer and like Republicans, certainly by much greater numbers than was reflected in union endorsements. Is the same true at Teamsters? You have many more members who like Donald Trump than they do Joe Biden.
Well, I don't know if that's accurate. I mean, we're doing polling right now. We've done a lot of polling as far as, reaching out to a certain demographic. We've also done polling, straw poll meetings within the 331 locals that we represent in the United States. And currently, by the end of this month, we have a publication that goes out to 1.6 million active and retired Teamsters, which will have a QR code, which will give us a good gauge on where we're at. But, it is neck and neck right now. And again, it's a decision that's going to be made with a lot of transparency and, most importantly, inclusiveness of the rank and file members.
What more could you ask for? That's the way it should be everywhere. This shouldn't be up for debate, but apparently it needs to be. Apparently, the rank and file are not supposed to make decisions based on what's in the best interest of their union. Sean O'Brien is saying, I am not here to support Donald Trump. I am here to see who supports labor. And if his rank and file say, we want you to support Donald Trump, then that's it. It doesn't make it right, but that's where we've come to as a nation. As I said before, you can make the argument Double K's a big supporter of our channel, and she talks about how good, Biden has been for her, and that's great. But he hasn't been great for a lot of people in labor. The people that have been in labor for a long time are in good shape. But there's a lot of people today who are afraid of the future and where it's going. And not properly negotiating for support is a big mistake. So what a lot of unions end up doing is just going with the flow. Well, we're Democrats, so we just have to go there, even if they're not going to really fight for us the way that we need them to. So Sean O'Brien is putting it out there that we're free agents. We're open. We normally go Democrat, but maybe this time we don't. So you know what you got to do? You got to fight for it. That's how you get people energized and excited. If the Democrats, if President Biden is not offering to do the same and not extend that same olive branch to the Teamsters at the Democratic convention, can you blame them? Again, might not be the right decision. We need a living wage. We need universal health care. And we need to end right to work so we have the ability to negotiate the terms that are best for workers and not for shareholders. That's what this country needs. It's been going in the wrong direction for far, far too long. And that's it. That's where we're at. One thing I did want to come back to, which I think is also important. When you talk about this rhetoric, this vicious rhetoric that has been permeating in our political discourse for so long, people will just constantly talking about things that have no bearing on policy, but just based on what is going to attract the most attention. It's like clicks. It's like Metal said earlier regarding Destiny. And Destiny made a statement more or less to the effect that, that guy was bad. Guy was dumb enough to bring him and his family to the Trump rally, so he deserved to get killed. It's whether he believes that or not, just making a statement like that. I would never click on somebody like that, and I don't. Frankly, I don't know who actually does listen to somebody like that. Ironically, he apparently lives in Miami. then again, they always put something in the water here in Florida, so I'm not entirely surprised. But what I can say is that our current Congresswoman is somebody who has basically made it her mission in life, especially the last few years, to just constantly talk about Trump. That's all she wants to do. That's her mission. And so here's another prime example of just that.
I'm frustrated that the media is literally dissecting every word that comes out of Joe Biden's mouth and is ignoring the fact that the Republicans are about to nominate, again, a convicted felon who's an adjudicated rapist, who's still...
So this is a person who makes this statement and all the while has been breaking the law herself. So it's easy to see why people just do not care, as if to suggest that you're accepting Trump for his behavior. No. But what you're basically saying is they all suck. How are we supposed to be picking any type of a choice that makes sense when we know that if you're going to have somebody like Debbie Wasserman Schultz as a spokesperson, you're not helping the Democratic Party. You're hurting it significantly. And there isn't anybody who is in a position of authority to tell her, could you please stop going on national television? It's not helping us. And I'm also curious to know if she's ever actually been in a situation where she did say something, they asked her not to, and that she said, I'm Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and I always do what I want. She's like the female Eric Cartman. I do what I want. We'll continue.
Denies that he lost the 2020 election, who is committing to upend every single accomplishment that Joe Biden has helped make sure we can recover after.
Again, the constant blinking, the constant pausing. She's like, I got this. I got this. I'm going to go up there and say how Biden is great and Trump is an evil man and he must be stopped.
COVID and the 15 million jobs that were created. Yeah, I am pushing to make sure that we can focus on what the danger lurking down the road is that if we don't make sure that we rally and focus on Donald Trump and the extremist good versus evil.
Good, there's the word, good versus evil. He's evil. We must stop him. She's not the only one. But this type of talk, you think it's not going to get somebody eventually who's just going to be like, we have to, this guy's Hitler. We got to stop him. If we don't stop him, who will? We're all doomed. The system's broken. And if you cannot come to terms with that, this is going to get worse. A lot worse. This is not an endorsement of Trump. This is a recognition that our system is broken and people like her are why it's broken. They do not care about anything other than their stupid, pointless, useless, listless career, of which she is a colossal failure at, aside from insider trading. That she's pretty good at.
Existential threat that he represents to our democracy, then we're going to end up back there again. And that's the nightmare scenario my constituents want to avoid.
Your constituents want to avoid? When is the last time you knocked on a door of a constituent to ask them what they care about? I can assure you, you don't, because I'm the one out there with many others knocking on doors. They haven't seen you in over 20 fucking years. You don't give a fuck about your constituents. Full stop.
Trump's Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Millions of Americans lost the right to make their own health care decisions. Since Trump did this, 14 states enacted extreme abortion bans, wreaking havoc on the lives of American women and families. It happened in my home state of Florida, and more states will follow suit. And now Trump's team has a detailed blueprint for what his next 4 years, God forbid, would look like, called Project 2025. It's 900 pages of legal and administrative assaults on our freedoms, rights, and progress. Mr. Wu, you're very familiar with Trump's Project 2025 and have a deep legal background. I want to ask you some rapid-fire questions, so if you could just start off with yes or no. These current abortion bans, including one in my home state of Florida, are ruining women's economic security. Would Project 2025 make those economic hardships worse for American women?
Yes, I believe so.
Again, these softball questions that you throw, you do nothing to actually inspire anybody to fix the problem. It's because of people like you that people turn to somebody like Trump and you end up with policies that fuck women over. That is a fact.
We know Trump abortion bans keep women in abusive relationships. Would Project 2025 make those horrible situations even worse?
Yes.
So once again, it's another layup shot that she's trying to throw. Yes, if this happens, if that, of course, all of that is relevant. What is she actually doing to fix the problem? She's doing nothing. Florida went from a swing blue to a red state under her watch over the last 20 years, 5 of which was her as the head of the DNC, in which she literally drove the party into the ground. Probably on purpose, specifically to ensure that Hillary Clinton was able to swoop in, fund the party, and take it over completely. And here we are.
These Trump abortion bans disproportionately harm already vulnerable populations, especially low-income and communities of color. Would legal assaults on abortion rights in Project 2025 inflict even more harm on these communities?
Yes.
Thank you.
Congresswoman, I hear you talking about Donald Trump and trying to put the focus back on him. He's been very quiet over the last several days and has just let this play out amongst the Democratic Party. I hear you focusing on the accomplishments you want to highlight from this president, and yet that's not the story that's out there right now. So are you frustrated? How damaging do you think this is, particularly as we get closer to November?
Can I just say how much corporate media really sucks? How this is not journalism. This is just entertainment. I don't even need to hear any more of what she has to say. I am not blaming Debbie Wasserman Schultz for Trump getting shot over the weekend. But what I will say is that type of rhetoric has to stop quickly. This election between Jen Perlman and Debbie Wasserman Schultz is between a moderate and an extremist. Jen is the moderate and Debbie is the extremist. If you think the course of action that has been charted for the last several years and going forward should continue with someone like her, then you're an extremist. You want to tone things down and get things that matters, which are issues, kitchen table issues that everyone is affected by? Support Jen Perlman. That's the answer. Because I highly doubt that she's going to get on camera on a national TV audience and talk about how evil Trump is when we should be talking about how evil multinational corporations are that make sure that they don't have to pay a living wage and they don't have to give universal health care. How much you think that would resonate with regular people? How much you think ending endless war would resonate with millions upon millions of people, knowing full well that the reason why we have and have spent about $1 trillion a year is because it is a corporate slush fund of the highest order. That is what our defense budget is all about. There has never been a war or a surge that Wasserman Schultz has not supported since she's been in Congress. You know why? See who's funded her campaign for years. Boeing, General Dynamics, Raytheon. I don't have to keep going, but you get the idea. And if that's not enough, We have a housing crisis in this country that is choking us to death. This woman not only does not support efforts to fix the housing crisis, she is flushed with cash from the real estate industry right now. That's a fucking problem. A big fucking problem, and everyone should have a problem with it. That's extremism. Ask anybody who lives here in South Florida, how you doing on rent? How you doing with your mortgage? You having trouble? Guess what? The federal representative of this area is telling you to go fuck yourself. I'll give you a second helping of shit to shove down your throat. Ready to change yet? Or maybe we should dig into the limestone a little deeper, and then maybe we'll find something there worth saving. I don't know. But hey, let's stick with Wasserman Schultz. Am I right? Jen gave a speech. I won't say where, but let's just say that she gave it in a room this evening with a lot of those normie Debs. She got pretty decent applause in that room when bringing up the fact that this is an offering. I can be your representative, and I'm not going to be bought with $1 million from AIPAC and over $100,000 this election cycle alone from the real estate industry. You want to change? You want someone who's going to fight? You got somebody right here willing to fight. And we'll fight hard, and we'll fight well. I think people heard it, and I think they heard it well. But we're going to need help, and we're going to need a lot more. And for those of you who are interested, I can only stress so much, but this is everything. That's where you got to go. And we need you all. Everybody here needs to step up, because I'm doing it for nothing, baby. You want to make a contribution? You want to help out? Do it on my behalf. Do it so that we can hire more canvassers. That's what we need. I appreciate you all. Colin, I don't know what this clip of Biden is, and I don't know what this other clip is. If you want to just enlighten me, please. An idea of what this is about.
Yeah, that first clip is from today of Biden, where he was asked if he calls himself a Zionist. And the second clip is from a protest that was protesting another auction of Gaza land, where the Zionist protesters started berating some Orthodox Jews and their kids pretty badly.
We love you, Teresa. Well, thank you, Colin. And of course, if you have not been paying attention, and maybe you have, maybe you haven't, well, it's not a surprise, because that's why a lot of people get very conspiratorial about a lot of these things that go on. Not a surprise. But here's what cannot be denied. While everyone was focused on the presumed likely next president of the United States being within an inch of his life, getting taken over the weekend, Israel decided that it was the right time to bomb Damascus. Do you know where Damascus is? It's not in Gaza. It's not in the West Bank. It's in Syria. Oh, they want to expand this war, baby. And nobody stands closer to Netanyahu than Debbie Wasserman Schultz, except maybe. For now, because we all know what Trump is saying, but what he'll do when he's president, that remains to be seen. Current president of the United States, even in lieu of Damascus getting bombarded over the weekend, decided that he was going to say this.
Well, you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist. And a Zionist is about whether or not Israel is a safe haven for Jews because of their history of how they've been persecuted.
Once again, this is such bullshit. And at this point, I don't know how you keep telling this lie. You know, everyone constantly talks about how Trump lies through his nose, his mouth, his ears, and his ass. What about the current president saying this shit? This is not true. It has been well documented in almost every conceivable measure that the state of Israel makes Jews less safe.
Are you a Zionist?
Yes. Now you'll be able to make a lot out of it because people don't know what a Zionist is.
What the hell did he just say? And it's like, when you say you're a Zionist, it was almost like he wasn't hesitating, but it's like he wasn't giving it to you. Like, yeah, I am. And it matters. That's what it sounded like to me.
Do you know what a Zionist is?
I just ask questions, I don't answer.
By the way, I'm the guy that did more for the Palestinian community than anybody. I'm the guy that opened up all the assets. I'm the guy that made sure that I got the Egyptians to open the border to let goods through.
What in the fuck? What is this? What is this? Sir, 200,000 Palestinians have been massacred, but you've done more for Palestinians than anybody? I just... Yeah, we're fucked. Like, we really are. And I hate that we are. Believe me, I hate it. But my God, this freaking guy.
Medicine and food but what's happening is, and I'm the guy that's been able to pull together the Arab states to agree to help the Palestinians with food and shelter.
Yeah, you said that already. And you helped them? How'd you help them? They're all dying. Do you know that, as far as we know, that 70,000 Palestinians in this moment are affected with hepatitis? You know how fast that shit's going to spread?
I'm the guy, and so it's not, I mean,
And I don't want to see the president in such a disassociated state where he can't talk. That is not good for our country. I hope people recognize that. It's not something to make fun of. It's a realization that things have gotten so bad that they're not even willing to try. That's a problem. I know it is for me. And of course, it does not stop, because there is a portion of the population that just wants to see this continue, because there is Zionism is a cult. It's a cult-like mindset of this era of superiority that they believe they have, and that Palestinians are basically subhuman. So apparently this was taken earlier by our good friends over at Status Quo. They're still doing land deals from stolen property of Palestinian people. Now, the one thing about the Hasidic Jews is that they really do believe in the Talmud, and they follow it to a T. And they understand that, at least, again, for their belief, that this makes absolutely no sense what they're doing. It goes against all of the teachings of Judaism. And these people who have created this false ideology, false idol, if you will, and they are so vitriolic about it, it is insane. It drives them absolutely mad that there are people within their own culture that see things differently. You're supposed to be in lockstep. You get out of line, it gets bad.
We are the same God. All your stuff you do, all your payers, all your beards, all fake. Cut them off, bitch! Cut them off! Cut off your peyote! Fake peyote! Fake! fake cheat. Oh, fucking. What the fuck's the beard for? Why do you have a yarmulke? Fucking bitch. Yeah, get the fuck in your car and get the fuck out of my way. Get the fuck out of my location. Get the fuck out.
Boy, I tell you, this kid, he's real tough. He's really tough. He's really tough. And what I love is that the cops don't do anything. You know? Everyone's got a lot to say and a lot to project when they're protected. If he wasn't so protected, he wouldn't be so tough. Again, it's strength in numbers.
You Maximo.
Back up, get on the sidewalk.
Get the fuck out of my face! Get the fuck out!
Get on the sidewalk.
Get out of my location! Back the fuck up!
And of course, he gets in a woman's face. I didn't even see that. But yeah, this is, Jen has said time and again, this is indoctrination. That's what it is. If you've ever seen these kids, they're brought up into this. They're brought up to hate. That's what they do. Why? Because they have an ideology that's unsustainable and they have done things that are absolutely beyond despicable. What's amazing is that they still think they're going to get away with this. That's what's incredible. Things have changed so significantly in such a short period of time that it could all fall apart. Like, that's how bad it is. There is no rationalization here. And you're being led by an absolutely psychotic leader in Netanyahu that is willing to take this right over the edge. He doesn't care. For them, they always see a way out. That's how they see it. And the people in the way, be damned. Doesn't matter. Because unfortunately, Chris, as it is for a lot of people, this is about money and power. It's not about rationalization. It's not about coherence. When you're corporate captured, you're corporate captured. It's that simple. That's why our current congressional representative has taken all of that AIPAC money. It's not rational, but it's par for the course. It's part of what we have to deal with. And the only way we're going to beat it is if we collectively work together. If we do that, we've got a chance. It's going to be hard. You guys have been great. Again, CannCon, unfortunately, was not able to make it. He shot me a message. We'll have to reschedule. I'm sure we'll chat at some point. But for all of you guys, you know, I appreciate you all. It's always great to have you here. Teresa, Ray J, Travers, Chris Garrett, Henrika Jawa, Jules, Metal, Travers, Bungled and Botched, Mario, Jimmy Zimzam, Donald James. Who else we got? Who did I forget? Well, Jennifer Perlman, of course. Sable, great to see you. It's been a little while. I believe I said you, Henry. Let's see. Anybody else? Remember, we need phone bankers. You guys out of town, please help. Bishop Pax. Appreciate you being here. Who else? I think I said Ray, except Ray J. Carla Harrington. Hydra Operative. Appreciate you all checking in or sticking around. Either or. Melanie Dennis. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Isadora. Good play on words, I guess. Thank you for coming. You guys have been great. That's why we do this. Thank you, Jules. I really appreciate it. Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do. I don't know what Thursday's going to bring. All I do know is that I cannot wait to get back on the campaign trail and knock on doors for Jen. Throw in a few bucks to the campaign if you can. I want to get as many people out there doing the same thing. We love you. We appreciate you. See you Thursday.